Let's make this beautiful dress together, inspired by Total Ninja clothing. Okay, I'm so excited. Let's get started. The width of fabric I'm having here is a quarter of my hip circumference, which is the widest part of my body, plus 3 more inches, including the seam allowance and my ease. You could add more than 3 inches up to 5, 6 if you want your A-line part to be very wide. Here I have my front and back folded together. So on fold I'm having about 4 pieces. Okay, so keep in mind my front and back are folded together. Usually the front will be wider in width because it should have an opening allowance, but I'll be using this black fabric for my opening. Here is my dress length. My dress length is about 55 inches. We start by making a half-inch border line, as you see me doing, and the next thing I'm going to do is to add half of my shoulder measurement on that line. My upper chest line, I'm taking a length of 8 inches and I'm taking down my shoulder measurement of 7.5 to make a straight line. Now I'll go ahead to extend this line for later on, and I'm marking my bodice, that is my shoulder to waist, and now I'm taking 8.5 inches for my waist to my hip, and on my bust or upper chest line I'm marking my bust line plus my ease, which is about 0.75, and my seam allowance of about half an inch, and I'll do that on my waistline and also on my hip line as well. I went ahead to connect with a line, and I'm looking for the midpoint of my arm side after marking down my shoulder slope of an inch, and for my midpoint I went in by half an inch. Now I'm marking just to this point for my back. I'm cutting my back and front together, remember, and I'm going into that point I made down to my bust line for my front. For my neckline I took a width of 3 inches and a depth of 1 inch, but I'm going to come down again by another half inch, making it 1.5, and this would serve for my back. I'm using 3 inches for my width because I want it free. You could use 2.5. And now for the front I'm coming down by about 2.5 inches. Okay, I'm connecting it back to my my width of 3 inches, and I'm making my shoulder slope line. Now for my back too, on my waistline I'm going to still come out, okay, because I'm going to smock it, so in the end it will still assume the front waist line. I'm using my hand to blend it up, and I'm going to take my long ruler and connect a line. Remember, it's an A-line dress, so I'm connecting a line from my hip line down to the hem of the fabric. Again, note that I am cutting for the back as you see me doing. So I'm going to cut for the back, remembering that we drafted both the front and the back on the front. So what you see me doing is I am cutting for the back piece right now. I'm going to go ahead to separate the back. Okay, take out a piece and that one will serve as the back. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut now for the front. So the neckline will be cut, the armhole will go in now, and the waistline would have the actual curve. Remember, there's an opening at the front, so I'm going to split my front into 2 equal parts, opening them up. Now I measure the length of my center front, 52 inches. I'm going to cut my black fabric of 52 inches by length and 4 inches by width, and I'm going to divide into 2 inches, so the 4 will now be 2 inches as you see here. So I'll go ahead to join my front and back shoulder together. As you can tell, I'm trying to manage the fabric, so I was able to put this scrap together to see if it would be enough for me to cut a sleeve. So it was enough for me to cut exactly my sleeve measurement or my bicep measurement without any allowance. But after drawing down my exact measurement, after I was able to get the half of my bicep measurement, I was able to cut an extra piece of fabric to join to complete the whole thing as you'd see me doing soon. So I was simply trying to get my curve and measuring to see if I would get half of my arm side. And having gotten it, I marked down my sleeve length. So I was using 8.5. As I just mentioned, I had to get scraps to increase the sleeve measurement, the width of my sleeve. So that is exactly what you see me doing. I wanted to mark the band measurement, so I just marked all I knew I was going to get, and times 2 is about 18 inches. Okay, but here I'm placing on fold and making sure that the width of the band I wanted is just right, that is being 5 inches. I went ahead to mark it. After marking it out, I went ahead to cut it. Okay, so after cutting it, I still had to divide it into two because they were for two separate bands. That is for my two arms. I went ahead to open up the back and mark my waist measurement, or my waist, from my shoulder to my waist length. I made a straight line across the back of my dress. From the line I just drew, I'm coming down by half an inch in 3 different places. I'm also going to go up by half an inch. 1, 2, 3. So 3 times. I'll do that on the other side as well. These would serve as guidelines while smocking. We're going to go ahead to wind the elastic thread on the bobbin, just as you see me doing. You do same. Make sure to use your hand to wind the thread onto your bobbin. If you've watched up to this point, why don't you just take a minute and subscribe, like this video, ask questions in the comment if you have any. Remember, to subscribe is free and expect to get immediate responses to your questions. After fixing the thread on the machine, I'd go ahead to start up sewing. Note that the thread that would be on the top of the machine would be your normal sewing thread. Okay, so you see me sewing and you see the gathering is already happening, the sharing. Some people call it sharing, some people call it smoking. Then I went to do the second line, so you see, and when I was done, this was how it came out. It was looking really nice. Remember, there's an opening at the front and we cut a different fabric for it, so I'm going ahead now to join that to my parted front fabric. So this was how it is. You fold in half an inch on one side, you fold in an inch, and then you fold another half an inch that's left on top. So just as you see me doing, and then I'll place the fabric in between the black fabric, and I'm going to just sew on the edge down. If you fold as illustrated, you're also going to cover the back. Okay, now this is how it came out, and I'm measuring the circumference of my neck to be able to cut my collar to fit the outfit. Okay, I'm having 19.5 here, so yours would be different. So I have this scrap of fabric that I plan to use, so I'm cutting both the back and the front together. Okay, so that's why I folded into 4. All right, so now for my collar base, I'm going up by 1 inch. You should make yours about 1.5 inch. Okay, especially when you're not using a fabric as stretchy as mine. And I'm marking down half of the neck circumference that is already on the outfit. I would also go up by 1 inch. Remember to add your allowance, okay, at the down part. Now I'm also going to come in by 1 inch. This will help me make a nice curve to the base, just as you see me doing. Okay, now from that point I'm going to mark up a straight line, and then on the base of that line I'll come out by half an inch. If you want a tippy or a pointy collar roll, you have to mark a diagonal line to that point, but I don't want that, so this is where you see me marking my own line. I'm going to cut. Make sure you cut with half an inch of allowance. Okay, now on this point I'm going to make a slanted line. Okay, that will help it relax properly on my shoulder. Now I'm going to place right side to right side and mark out, removing the allowances I put for sewing. Okay, so just as you see me do, I want to measure again to see if I have the exact thing, and yes I do. I went ahead to sew it and iron. Now I'm going to place in the neckline of my clothes into the collar, and I'm going to sew. And after sewing, I also made a crease for a distinction between the collar roll and the collar stand or base. So you see how it's going to look. It's going to look really nice. And then I also joined my sleeve and joined the sides. But for the side, I didn't get to the end. I measured 15 inches from down coming up. And then that 1 inch sewing allowance I had at that area, I'm going to fold 0.25 inch and fold another 0.5 inch and sew down. And now for the button area, for my opening, these are the buttons I want to use. Okay, so they are going to look nice. I also have blue as well. Okay, so from the collar stand, you want to mark down 3 inches first. Okay, mark down 3 inches. Now from that 3 inches, especially if you're very busty, you have to, the distance should be around 2.5 till you get to your waistline. But for me, I used 3 inches. So you also want to do that on the other one. So one of them is for the buttons, one is for the buttonholes. Go ahead to hem the bottom part. This was how the outfit all came out. So if you liked or enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe, then share.